Hello everyone, this is Gray Walker or Blender Helix Alpha from YouTube.com, and I am coming at you today with a very beneficial tutorial on how to use the open source freeware 3D modeling software called Blender 3D. This is version 2.64, I believe, and today we're just going to be going over some of the basic beginner user interface stuff. This is for the people who haven't ever modeled, haven't ever textured, and are just jumping into this stuff. I'm going to point this tutorial to all of my friends who want to learn how to 3D model, and I urge you to do the same because it should be beneficial, and it's sort of going to be an informal, low effort tutorial, but I do hope it is beneficial for everyone, and if you listen up, I'm sure you'll learn something. So this is Blender. It has some basic components here. You got your top toolbar like most programs on Windows do. You got your object tools bar, and you have this default pane that's built right here, and there's actually two panes here. And the way that we can tell that is because there's two changers. If we wanted to change the contents of this pane, we could, if we wanted to make it another 3D view, we could do that. But let's go ahead and change it back to what it was. I'm pretty sure it was, let's just change it back to that. So these are the default two panes. This is your default timeline. We won't be getting into that too much today, but if you want to animate some basic things just using a timeline, you can go ahead and do that. You can record your motions here. If you want to toggle in your properties panel, you can hit N, and that'll give you some basic properties here, like transform orientations. It'll allow you to input some background images, as well as change your clip distance from your camera. And if we scroll up here using the mouse wheel, we can see some new options like grease pencil and a few stuff like that. Some of this is a little bit advanced, so we're not going to get into that a whole lot more. But let's hit N again to toggle that down. Okay, so let's jump right into it. There are three basic hotkeys for modeling. That would be S, G, and R. S will size, R will rotate, and G will translate. Or, if you'd rather remember it this way, G will grab. So, if we hit Shift A, it'll bring up this context menu, and we can go to Add Mesh, Cube. So that just adds a cube directly in the center. To rotate around, you're going to need a mouse with a middle button, so you can click in that button or wheel and drag your mouse. So now this allows you to orbit your editor view around the cube. However you'd like to orientate yourself. Right now we're in perspective mode, and what that means is we see things like we would with the eyes of a human being. If we want to see things with a flat view, so we can see things like an image, we can hit 5 on the numpad, and we can see things in a flat view. This is called orthographic. So if we rotate now with our middle mouse button, we can now see the orthographic view of our cube. And if you'd like to switch between Blender's default orthographic perspectives, you can hit 7 for top, 1 for front, and 3 for right. You can use the directional numpad keys as well to rotate around your cube. The difference between orthographic and perspective is that mathematically everything is flat. Everything is interpreted as a flat object. There is no depth. So, using this 45-degree angle on our cube, if we toggle between orthographic and perspective, you can see now that the depth is very noticeable. This is perspective as we are looking at it, everything converges on multiple vanishing points. And here, the vanishing points are still there, but they are flat. Every angle is more flat. So that's perspective and orthographic, and that's how to toggle between them. That would be, again, 5 on the numpad. So now you know how to rotate your editor view around your object using the middle mouse clicking button. Now we're going to cover how to edit your cube. And right now we are in object mode, as you can see down here. To change that, you can click that and go to edit mode. Or, if you would like a quicker way, you can hit tab. That quickly switches between your first and secondary mode. By default, the secondary mode would be edit mode. In object mode, what you can do is use these arrows, which blue is Z-axis, up and down. Green, left and right, is Y-axis. And X is forward and backward, which is the X-axis, the red arrow here. And we can use those to move this cube. But we can't edit any vertices or points. Let's hit Control Z to make our cube go back to the center if you moved it. And Control Z is just undo. You can hit that, I think it's up to an amount of 30 times for the default Blender. But we can't move any of our points or edges or faces on our cube yet to model it, because we're not in edit mode. We're in object mode. So let's go to edit mode. And right now you'll see some dots appear, and your whole cube is probably yellow. That is because it's all selected. We don't want it all selected. So let's hit A to deselect everything. And if we wanted to select everything again, we could hit A again. So that's a way that you can select all and deselect all in one button. Okay, so let's have everything deselected, so now it shouldn't be yellow. You can see now that these vertices are a little bit highlighted. If we rotate around here, you can see all the dots around the cube. That is because your select mode, vertex select, is now toggled. That is default. So if we right click on a vertice, this is the basic selection tool with Blender. Right click, you don't use left click. Always right click. If we wanted to select multiple vertices on an object while we're in edit mode, or multiple edges, or multiple faces, depending on what selection mode you're in. Right now we're in vertex mode, remember. If we want to select multiple ones, we can hold down shift and right click on whichever ones we would like. So now we have these two faces selected because we have all of the surrounding vertices selected. If we wanted to select this top face, we can hold down shift again and select these to deselect them. And that will bring us just back to our face. Unlike most model editing softwares, if you select the vertexes surrounding a face, the face itself will be selected, not just the vertexes. Let's hit A again to deselect everything that we've selected. Let's explore the line edge selection by clicking here. Nothing is default highlighted on here yet, but if we right click now, we can select edges. If we wish to, we can select multiple edges. This is edge select. If we wanted to select faces, we can click here on the right, the third button on your selection modes, and square indicators will show themselves, indicate exactly where a face will be. And you can either right click in the vicinity of the face or directly on top of that square for more precision. And you can select faces. If you wanted to select multiple faces again, you can hold down Shift. And the way that I'm rotating around my screen again is holding down the middle mouse button and dragging my mouse. Let's hit A to deselect everything. Let's hit Tab to go back into object mode. And what we're going to do now is center our editor view on what our object currently selected is. And to do that, you hit the period button directly under the 3 on your numpad. This function in Blender is called focus. If you use Autodesk Maya, the same function is there, except the hotkey is F. Okay, so now we're centered around our item. To zoom in and out of the editor panel, the editor view, you can just use the up and down mouse wheel. Again, to rotate your view, you hold down the mouse button and drag. And a new concept that we're learning now is if you hold down the Shift button and you hold down the middle mouse button, and if you drag your mouse now, you can pan your view. Left and right, up and down. This is also a way to navigate yourself when editing a model. Now let's go into backwards facing culling, or culling. I guess a way to put it is how to see things that you can't see. How to see through your object so that you can select and modify things that you aren't directly looking at. It might seem a little bit complicated, but you'll understand it as soon as I show you. So let's go ahead and hit Shift-C to center our view again. Zoom out a little bit. Let's tab into edit mode. I'm actually going to rotate my view around because you can see that this blue arrow here is facing downwards, and that's supposed to be facing upwards, generally. So let's go ahead and rotate our view up, just so we can see directly upwards. Let's tab into edit mode again, and now I'm going to show you backwards facing culling. As you can tell right now, all we can see are 3 faces. That is because they are directly in front of us. Backwards facing culling is turned on, so we can't see any of these faces when we turn our object camera. To turn backwards facing culling off so you can see through your object, you use this tool right here. It will even say, when you put your mouse cursor over it, limit selection to visible. Occlude geometry. So let's click that to turn it off. Now we can select faces with precision behind you. It's sort of like having an X-ray machine. We can select multiple faces. We can select faces that we can't see, and we can select faces that we can see. This is a great tool so that you can see and navigate everything in your mesh. Okay, so that's it for this video. I really hope you guys enjoyed, and that's just part 1 for my tutorial on how to navigate and some of the interface tools on Blender. Thank you very much for watching. I'd very much appreciate it if you liked this video, and I will see you guys later.